I am Surat, and this is my Safarnama. I'm young, energetic, ambitious, and calm. I hold a million dreams, though, known for my business acumen, my diversity and spiritual leanings are equally strong. I'm home to at least 7 religions, tens of subcastes, sects, and citizens from all over India. I truly am an undiluted slice of India. I'm modern, yet retain values that are unique to the Indian subcontinent, nurturing all that is good and untangling all that is bad, one day at a time. This distinctive combination of ambition, growth, awareness, and spirituality is also what our protagonist for today represents. Fueled by a desire to explore his creative side and armed with unparalleled drawing skills, he was the first architect in a family of 40 doctors. He is indeed Surat's representative to the world. His style clearly sets him and his buildings apart, and his approach is pragmatic. His firm is the recipient of over 70 awards across IIID, IIA, and IGBC, a testament to his life's work. In this episode, he candidly discusses life beyond design and architecture, the philosophy and the beliefs that make him unique, the relationship that he shares with his life and business partner, the importance of bequeathing control, and, equally importantly, of dying gracefully. Presenting Snehal Shah, narrating his Safarnama.
You belong to a family of, I believe, 40 plus doctors, and you're the first architect in the family. Tell us a little bit how this happened.
I was not at all interested in becoming a doctor for a simple reason that as a child, I have skipped many movies halfway because of the profession.
Okay.
As a child, it is very, very annoying that you're there in the movie, and at that time there were no mobiles. So there was this clip which used to come in the theater, multi-vein, you need to go back to the hospital because there's an emergency. Now what brought me into architecture is also interesting. Since a child, I used to participate in a drawing competition which was held in the Gandhi Bagh in Surat. It's a park in Surat. For age group from 5 to 12. So I won that competition 7 years in a row. And it builds so much of confidence, to an extent ego. It was further bolstered when they asked me to inaugurate and become the judge for the next competition at the age of 14.
Oh, you remember what you were drawing?
Absolutely. So in one incident, they asked us to draw an accident.
Oh.
Now, I was living in the old city, in the street, and I knew how many things are there when there is an accident. But I drew only 1/4 of the bus in the frame so that I can cover rest of the things. And that is something which really appealed to the judges. And must be about 10 years of age at that time. And a normal paradigm is, of course, I don't agree now, that jiska drawing अच्छा है वो architecture कर सकता है.
Right.
Incidentally, my cousin, he was the leading interior designer in Surat. He is in fact the person who brought the interior design as a profession in Surat, Mr. Hemant Khatlawala. So I used to visit his office at times, and I really got fascinated to see the models and what these people do all day. They draw, they visualize things, and I thought this was a nice profession. So I really slogged my ass off in 12th, and I got very good marks so that I could get admission in any damn medical college in the state. And then by choice, decided to become a doctor.
An architect.
Become an architect.
So, can you tell us more about your initial years at CEPT?
So when I got there, I what I actually initially understood there is there is something called philosophy in architecture जो तब तक नहीं पता था.
नहीं पता था.
Somebody told me that number of books you read gives you number of points of views at looking at a thing.
Right.
And that is something, it really caught my mind. And another thing, obviously, which caught my mind was my better half, whom I met her in first year.
Okay.
Okay.
So, how did the city of Ahmedabad impact you? The college was there, but there was also this city that is so culturally rich.
Ahmedabad as a city, I don't think you know that it is the only city outside France where Corbusier has done 4 independent commissions.
Yeah.
That's the only city in the world. It's the only city in the world where you have Corbusier has worked and also Louis Kahn has worked.
Right.
Nowhere in the world these two people have done work in the same
Same
city.
city,
Right.
yes.
And then with the NID and so many brilliant institutes set up by the benevolent textile traders of Ahmedabad, I think the city had brilliant legacy of architecture. And then to top it, Charles Correa doing so many good works there. So it was like living in an educational setup, learning architecture.
So you seem to have had a great time in Ahmedabad. Then what was it that brought you back to Surat?
Right. At that time, I had a very strong paradigm that Surat was only about business. Nobody gave a damn to architecture or design. And it was all about money. And if I go back after the kind of exposure I had in Ahmedabad and Netherlands, nobody would understand me.
You would feel corrupted.
I would feel suffocated. I think that whatever I could do, if there is no audience for it, how would I survive? It didn't make sense at all.
Right.
I'm also very close to my parents, and I thought that living with parents is better than anything else. So, in spite of my strong paradigms about nobody understanding me in Surat, I still thought, let me take a chance. My initial projects were majorly interior designs for rich textile merchants of Surat. And they made me watch all kinds of serials. I still remember I watched क्योंकि सास भी कभी बहू थी one particular episode so that I can see a particular purple texture in Mihir's wall.
Oh my God.
And they didn't show that room in that episode.
Oh God.
So I did that for some time, and then I realized that this is not something I can thrive on. I went back to my father and said, Papa, nahi hoga ye. I'd like to get into academics. But in 2003, while I was in college, I got a call from a diamanter from Surat. He said, I'm Mr. Parag Shah, and I am building a diamond factory, about 160,000 square feet. I'd like to know which architect's works inspires you. I was scratching my head. A diamond guy in Surat, what do I tell him? I said, sir, I'm not very sure you would know, but there's a Japanese architect by the name of Tarawando. The next moment, I hear a very excited voice saying, wonderful, I would like to meet you. So it was like a very pleasant shock. I was still in a lot of disbelief. He asked me a lot of questions about Tarawando to test whether genuinely I understand him or not.
Right.
Oh.
He made me sketch a lot of construction details of Tarawando's projects.
Did he know so much about Tarawando?
He knew.
Oh.
I discovered later on that he had a much bigger library of architectural books than what I had.
Wow. Wow.
And that was a big turning point in my life. And I always look at him as a banyan tree.
Okay, sir. So, talking about initial years, organizations and associations like IIA and IIID play a very motivational and important role in life of young architects. So, I am curious to know, did you come across any such incidents or encounters where these organizations kind of shaped your game?
IIA and IIID and IGBC.
Hmm.
These are the three organizations
Hmm.
which I owe a lot about the growth to my practice.
Hmm.
So at that time, this office interior that I did,
Hmm.
I'd send the entry to the IIA CAF awards.
Okay.
So these are awards meant for young architects instilled by IIA.
Okay.
And I was a national winner then.
Okay.
And I was like very surprised, very happy, of course, that first time in Surat, somebody was winning a Design Excellence Award.
I remember you had this pipe with a cantilever. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes.
I still have that image. I don't know. I just came up.
It featured on the front page of the IA magazine then.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And this ceremony for awards happened at Surajkund, Haryana. Again, it was very nice to see that the whole country is getting together as an association to recognize the excellence. So I thought this is the way to go. And from then point onwards, I started actually looking for these opportunities.
Right.
All along the way, we've been now, of course, one number of awards. I think we've touched or crossed 40 now.
Okay.
And IGBC awards is 30. So about 70 plus awards which we have been able to accumulate. And today, if you just look at the number of awards Surti firms are winning at the national level, it's really heartening.
Agreed.
It's not just number of winners, it is the number of entries.
Entries as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
I think it's 100 plus entries almost every year for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
I think that's been wonderful.
Yeah, and it also shows the level of confidence in the
Yeah.
designers themselves.
You're one of those firms which is a husband-wife couple firm. Did your design philosophy match with hers, or was this something that you walked midway?
What is your guess?
I don't know.
Me and Saloni think very differently. And whenever new client used to come, we could never work on one proposal. So she made one design proposal, I used to make one design proposal, and we both gave a jury to the client. Unfortunately, we live in a man's world, at least where India was at that time. And 9 out of 10 times it used to happen that the client preferred my design because it was my design, not because it was necessarily a better design. And that really put her off. Also, being a woman in our context, just after the marriage, you need to create a family. So there was these 2 breaks with 2 children. And she almost started feeling that she lagged behind now. In the race, she was lagging really behind, and that started affecting our relationship at home. We had that little period of time when it was not a very good time to remember, but that time really helped us to really come to the future arrangement. That is the time when I learned that there is so much more to life, so much more to your profession other than the things you design to make it work.
Right.
If it works with your wife, it will work with other people with whom you're working with.
Right.
Luckily, at that time, I came across an organization called Oasis. It's an NGO based out of Baroda, and it works for character building.
Okay.
Till then, we never knew कि ये भी सीखना पड़ता है. We always thought that you only learn skills in college and you're ready to go. But to have an intrinsically strong character is so important. So we decided to have a different vertical for her, which was to her liking, which was art integration, product design, etc. So Oblique was born in 2008.
Okay.
And she became the head of Oblique. And for every project that we design, be it architecture project, interior project, the art component emerged right at the concept level, which is a very unique process we have got into, and we continue it even today. When you give ownership to somebody, they blossom. So we decided that EssTeam, which was a proprietary firm till then, let's have more and more people owning the firm. So we converted EssTeam into a partnership firm. So with Vishal, we were already working on public projects. So Urban Initiatives already existed as a firm which deals with public projects, like Kopi Talav is one of our favorite projects.
Right.
So we had EssTeam, we had Urban Initiatives, we had Oblique. Now what was missing was project management. Now the project started becoming so complicated that to deliver something which is dreamt of, you need a professional service. So then it gave birth to EssAct, which is a hardcore project management firm. In the last couple of years, a couple of more babies have been delivered. One by the name of Amalgus, which is a design and build company now. Now we're taking the thing further. The models all over the world are changing. So now we are into design and build services also, especially for interior projects. And then our latest baby is called Home Lane, which is a franchisee for affordable budget interiors in fixed time of 60 days, fixed budget.
You somehow have proven to be a very unique combination of an architect and an entrepreneur. So how do you manage with these many firms and these many people and these many heads?
We live in a society where we deal with people, and a single most important thing is to have an ability to trust people. And this particular thing is so well drilled into the mind that now trusting comes very naturally to me. And when you trust somebody, it will grow. The person will grow, the team will grow, and the firms will grow. My joy lies more in helping build character rather than discussing character of the building. So it's more about people where I enjoy. So I look forward to any damn opportunity where I am able to become part of something meaningful. And once you cross your line of financial insecurity, which again is a challenge to define.
Yes.
Yeah, for some, yes.
The kind of freedom that you experience is indescribable.
Is there a risk of losing out on the core? You mentioned that you need to break out of that, that core value. But wouldn't you want to retain that, or is it somehow, becoming just a congregation of things?
No, it's just that you really need to loosen your control over things. That is very important. If somebody else is given a task, obviously he or she would do it differently. And you should be okay with that.
Right.
And that is something I've realized, that I used to be a control freak. And now I'm learning how to lose control. And then nothing is permanent. Everything is momentary. So best of the architects, best of the firms, they've also perished. So ये भी चला जाएगा ना. But so it is very important to lose this control, which I feel I'm really learning now, and that is making things easier.
The first impression that I had of architect Snehal Shah was a very shrewd and brutal man, a very brutal professor who made me step on my own model, which I had made, overnight and after so much of slogging and all. And today, when I'm sitting in front of you, talking to you, you have evolved as such a humble and such a compassionate person. So You did mention about OSS and how this all transformation happened, but I would like to know more about your journey in this transformation.
Firstly, I'd like to apologize
No.
for all the rudeness and the shrewdness, not just to you, to all my students who think I have been very strict with them, very rude with them, because my paradigms at that time were कि लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. Whatever your standards are, you expect the same from your students. And that is why you want to push them to their limit. But in the process, you lose track that they are different people, they have different strengths. When you crush a student's self-respect, they don't remain receptive at all. So the best way to actually teach is to totally safeguard their self-respect, never attack them. That itself, I know my co-jurors found it so difficult to do because the conditioning is कि student hai, let's thrash them, let's find out the faults, and that's what a juror does. So this whole paradigm, I feel, has shifted. At least I feel so within me.
Yes.
We'll come to one very important aspect of your life, which is sustainability and green architecture and IGBC, all three coming in together. One, we'd like to know how it all started. Was it a point where you realized that now this is required and we must now go towards that? Or was it a gradual thing that happened that, you started getting frustrated about the things that was either happening or that you were doing maybe, and it pushed you towards this field? How has that happened? And just take us through the entire journey of that.
Here was a context where the entire world was talking about the problems with the environment that the industrialization process has created.
Right.
In fact, the greed emerging out of industrial processes have created. And I took it as an opportunity.
Okay.
That if I am able to learn the sustainable architecture, the green architecture, and serve it to the people in my region, it would again put my nose ahead in the race. It offers you tangible benefits which can be served to my clients. For example, we can talk about savings in operational cost of a project. I could tell the client कि मैं आपकी फैक्ट्री का 40% बिल कम करवा दूंगा, right? Same, even water consumption. Water consumption can be reduced. Your people will have fresher air to breathe, much better indoor air quality. So many things which were more appealing to the client financially is something I thought this could offer. Problem with green buildings is that as architects, we love to fantasize. We are dreamers. We don't like pragmatic calculations which an engineer does.
Right.
So I had to cross that boundary. वो दहलीज cross करना पड़ा. The first factory that we did for Parag Shah was completed in 2004. In fact, 3 years back, it won the IGBC Champions Award for Green Factory. So it was at that point the most energy efficient factory in the entire country, which documents its energy consumption.
Isn't sustainability a very simple concept of, respecting to one's context or one's climate or resources, something that is very local? Okay. So isn't these rating system and all have created a number game, and which is, kind of projecting sustainability a very different way than what it is? In my opinion, it is something very simple and it is something very humble.
No, I totally agree with you in the sense that all our vernacular construction systems, the way we built, has always been very green. And you don't really need certificates to prove that it is green. You look at the pole houses in Ahmedabad, we used to have that central water tank to collect the water, which lasted the whole year.
True.
Or any climate zone you take in India or the world, the traditional construction methods have always been green. But the mess up is that we have been totally influenced by the visuals from the West, from the countries which are cold countries, which receive very less daylight, and that is why they started constructing the glass boxes. Right. Now, as a evolution process, you can't go out and say, shut up this nonsense and stop building in glass or stop building these things. So if at all you want to build those kind of buildings or you want to build something which is modern, there has to be something which you need to be accountable for. And these rating systems, once you go through a process of getting it certified, you'll realize that they actually ensure that there is a stop on how much harm that particular project can do to the environment.
Isn't that like creating a problem and then finding a solution? Instead of focusing on moving towards building properly, we are actually saying ki, theek hai, this is modern architecture, you use glass, but now we put in those checks and balances so that you may be called green.
You should understand that the buildings have become machines now. There are many other stakeholders in it. Very complex engineering solutions, IT solutions, so many things go into it which can potentially amplify the harm a building can do to the environment. Right? So I feel the architect's role has to move from being a master builder to a team player now, where his job is to integrate things. And when there are many people working on the same thing, you need some structure to measure what you're doing. So consider it as a tool to measure the rating systems. Even the rating systems, if you look at them 3 years back and now, they are also evolving.
They're evolving, yes.
Right? So it's not something to really have a bias against it, but to look at it as a tool. And the moment you start looking at it as a tool, in a very complex system with multiple stakeholders,
especially in an urban environment,
I think it works very well.
Okay, so we have our sources suggesting that you have a very specific regime. Your time for office, your time for your hobbies, drums, music, fitness, and things like that. So who's your source of inspiration for that? Or what drives you to do so much? And what's your take on your such a disciplined lifestyle?
I lost my dad about 12 or 13 years back. And I could see what happens when a partner is lost in my mom. But then I also saw her pick herself up. She figured out that how to age is also something one needs to learn. So at the age of 65, she started learning everything which she always wanted to do as a child. Unfortunately, at the age of 72, she was detected with breast cancer. And there was a phase where she was down with the chemotherapy, all the hair was lost, and there was a little tough time. But again, the way she is, she fought it out. So she came to me, Snehal, I want to write a book on how to age gracefully. So first I had a good laugh. Mom, why you want to do that? She said, no, this is important and I feel it is my duty that I can influence a few people. So there are so many people like me who are upset on losing the spouse. And my background in medicine will help. What I've gone through will help. I realized that for me not to have Alzheimer's or some other disease, mental disease, I need to learn something which keeps my cognitive functions on. It also helped me build up my conviction for Vipassana, that this is something which has to be part of my life. And Vipassana in return helped me look at things very objectively, how to get detached from things. in the morning I never feel કે મને આળસ આવે છે. I go to my walk without fail every day. Every Sunday I have to have my tennis. So it has become a very routine. In fact, 2.5 years back, I'm very glad to share that I could drop something which I loved so much in my life till then, butter chicken. All sorts of non-veg, I quit 2.5 years back. Eggs, I know every lari in Surat. I know which item is good. Quit, no eggs since last 2.5 years. I used to be a bartender. Please remove this if it's not meant for this. But I used to relish alcohol. I used to be a bartender in my parties. I quit all hard liquors 2.5 years back. Not a drop since then. And all this discipline, it's not discipline, it is just the understanding which has evolved that one needs to detach from things with time. And that helped me make my regime. So I have fixed time for my training. So every day 3:30 to 6 I'm home doing my training. My trainer comes then. In the morning my walk is must. My music is important, my tennis is important. My college is important. So even those times are done. And after doing all that, I get about 6 hours a day for the profession. And this is something which has been working for me very well for last 2.5 years. And I don't feel a need to change anything from here. But behind all of this, the reason is that I want to die gracefully.
Wow. मेरे सफर की अधूरी है कहानियां, हर मोड़ पर जैसे है एक फसाना. मेरे जहन की आवाजों को सुन, कैसे बताऊं तुझे ये सफरनामा. रिश्तों की है मेरी बहुत सी बातें, कुछ अनकहे वादे हैं निभाना. आ पास बैठ, कुछ बातें बताऊं, बड़ा दिलचस्प है ये सफरनामा. ये कहानी है या हकीकत, जरा मुश्किल है ये बताना. मेरे माजी को बयां करता एक एहसास है ये सफरनामा. रेत पर बने वो ख्वाबों के महल, मुश्किल था उसमें घर बसाना. ऐसे आशियाने के परत खोलता, नया किस्सा है ये सफरनामा. अपने कल को याद करता हूँ, आसान नहीं है उसे भुलाना. अपने कल की उम्मीद रखता हूँ, बाकी है अभी सफरनामा, बाकी है अभी सफरनामा.